Welcome back after the lunch break. I hope you all must be energized now. This is the fireside chat on the theme testing and certification of civil drones. So we have amongst us the host for this session, Dr. Manish Pande, Director PADD, Division Quality Council of India, and the guest speakers are Dr. Madhusudan Joshi, Deputy General Manager, International Center for Automotive Technology, and Shri B. Sairaj, Product and Solutions Lead, CrystalBall. So now I hand over the floor to Dr. Manish Pande for taking further the proceedings. कार्यवाही को आगे ले जाने के लिए अब मैं सुपुर्द कर रही हूँ ये मंच डॉक्टर मनीष पांडे के. थैंक यू.
Thank you. Good afternoon to you all, and I wish on behalf of the Quality Council of India express my gratitude to the Ministry of Civil Aviation and of course the DFI for inviting Quality Council to talk about the most important aspect in the drone system, which is about the issuance of the statement of conformity and of course which will lead to the issuance of the type certificate. Now this is an interactive session which on my right is the testing lab, which is being represented by Mr. Joshi, and on my left is the manufacturer whom we have been working for now 18 months over, yes, so that they could understand the systems and give compliances in a manner that would help a certification body. In fact, we had one of our approved certification body who couldn't make it, but then they are the ones who would review that entire set of documentation before it is submitted to DGCA. We have officers from the DGCA here for the issuance of type certificate, which would allow them then to commercially transact their drones to the various uses, as we have seen in the earlier sessions, and carry on their business. Now, just a few words about the scheme, and before that, a short introduction about the Quality Council of India. So, this Quality Council of India is an autonomous body which is associated with the Ministry of Commerce and Industries for the very reason that we are the National Accreditation Board or the body for the country, which means that we profess a kind of a system where the certificate or the assessments that we do and the results that come out of that conformity assessment, be it testing, be it certification, be it inspection, they are tested once and accepted everywhere. Now with this background, we had been kind of identified by the Ministry of Civil Aviation to help to do the due diligence before the issuance of the license in the form of the type certificate, which incurred a detailed international process where we had 3 multi-stakeholder committees, starting from the steering committee, the technical committee, and the certification committee, each of which was comprised by industry members, the academia, various regulators, consumers, and the manufacturers themselves. So this resulted in a scheme which now is called the UOS scheme, which is compliant to the Drone Rules 2021, which were revised as we heard, and that the scheme was notified and has been in force from 26th of January now. Now with this, there has been a lot of concerns and issues about its strictness, the timelines which have been extended and things like that. So we are here to listen not from the Quality Council of India, but for 2 of my panelists who would give a brief about it is doable. Anything that we have written in the scheme as per the requirements have come from the industry itself, which has been, of course, been approved by a group or a team of stakeholders which know the subject, which know the markets, and of course, which know the compliance. Now, I will stop here, and I will now request my colleague from ICAT to introduce his organization, and he has a small presentation to give. Why he has been identified by the organizers is that testing is an integral part of compliance. There are a lot of challenges which have come to fore in terms of where do we do it, how much we have to do it, what is the waiting time, what is the cost, what are the various other aspects. So we thought rather than as QCIV giving them an explanation, we have requested this lab In our systems, the labs have to be accredited to international standards, which means again that any test reports that they have issued would not only be accepted in the country, but they would be accepted around the globe. So the punchline or the tagline of the accreditation, which we are responsible for in the country, is tested once and accepted everywhere. It could be a testing report or it could be a certificate given by any of our accredited certification body. Mr. Joshi, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Pande. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for giving this opportunity to us to make a short presentation and be a part of this panel discussion. I'm not able to see the presentation. Yeah, thank you. So just to give you a background, automotive industry, I belong to automotive industry. I had been working with automotive industry for last 21 years. And let me tell you that automotive industry is the most regulated sector as far as standards are concerned. We have more than 200 standards in place. And I'm proud to say that in India, our automotive certification regime is exactly at par with the European type approval system, which is considered to be the highest standard in the world. Now, having said that, we are in the beginning of this era of drones, and we have regulations in place already, as the Honorable Minister has announced in the morning, drone rules, etc. And I was also listening to Professor Sood in the morning. Now, what comes next to regulations is setting up the right standards. Now, setting up the right standard is very, very important. And if you want to have good products, if you want to have products which are, fail-safe, fail-secure, you need to have a very strong standardization system in place. You can go to any international country, wherever there is a success story on the product certification or product compliances, product quality, you will see that very strong standards are in place. So we are in the beginning of this journey, and it is very, very important that we take right steps. I request industry to come forward and participate in this standardization, because the success of the automotive industry in India is mainly because of the standards which were made. Somebody conceptualized that there has to be a very strong standardization system, and due to that, we are able to compete internationally as on date, and our products are exported from India to outside world. And the reason is only the placement of the right standards at right point of time. So I'll give you a brief about International Center for Automotive Technology. The pictures you look are the site pictures of the facility, which is spread over 56 acres of land. We are located in Manesar, very close to Gurgaon. So we are a national laboratory under Ministry of Heavy Industries and Public Enterprises, Government of India. We issue type approval, certification, product validation and compliances to various automotive products, as well as complete vehicles, starting from mopeds to trucks, all different kinds of electric vehicles, autonomous vehicles, etc. Now, recently we have started in a collaboration with the Quality Council of India, started certifying batteries for drones, certifying, testing and validating various type of drones. So we see this as a very promising industry, and we would like to become a partner in this success story, and we would like to share our experience of automotive industry, which we have learned over last 2 decades or 3 decades of setting up various strong standards. So I would like to tell you upfront, based on the various literature, documents, etc., which I have gone through, that there are various type of test and test requirements that has to be in place as far as the certification of drones is concerned. We should start with very strong standards on electromagnetic compatibility, environmental testing, testing of batteries, acoustic testing, functional safety, cyber security, flight testing, and also talking about general requirements. Now, as far as EMC is concerned, there are a lot of international standards which are already in place. We are not trying to set up any new standard. There are IEC standards which are already there, 61,000 series, which talk about various aspects of electromagnetic compatibility, be it radiated immunity, radiated emission, conducted immunity, conducted emission, electrostatic discharge testing. So all these different type of test requirements are very important to have a very good product which is compatible electromagnetically. Then the second is the environmental testing, which also has already international standards available. We don't have to write any new standard. We have to just adopt these standards. These are mainly IEC standards. And if you want to certify some military-grade drones, then we'll have to adopt some MIL standards, which are already in place. So these standards basically will ensure that the products which are available in market perform well in different adverse weather conditions which are prevailing all across India, whether it is rain or high humidity, high temperature, a lot of dust is there in the Indian environment. So this is basically to test the worthiness of these products with respect to all these environmental changes. Then battery, as you know, the drones are coming in various sizes, and sometimes the batteries are very big, very large in size. It is also important to test and validate these batteries for various type of testing, which actually are as per the international standards, which are already well written and already available in the public domain. We have to just adopt these. Next is the testing of noise, because drones will definitely have a noise content, and this noise contents have to be measured and have to be within certain limits. So those limits have to be set. So these are again some international standards available in this. We have to adopt these standards, stitch these together to make a main Indian standard, what we want to call. Okay. Then one important aspect of devices which are kind of IoT type of devices, which drone is likely to be, it is important to have a functional safety check. So functional safety actually is nothing but setting up the safety integrity levels, based on which we decide what is the quality of the product as far as safety is concerned. So this particular standard is also written and made by IEC as 61508. This framework is a very good framework which has to be there as a part of a manufacturing company and its supply chain, to make sure that whatever processes they are adopting to manufacture a drone or any accessory for the drone shall comply with the safety requirements with respect to this standard. Similarly, there is one more standard on cyber security, which is ISO 27000 series of standards, because these are IoT products. There are a lot of data which is going to be handled by, as far as drones are concerned. There are also connectivities involved, and this is related to all of us. So that is important to set up a cyber security kind of framework right from inception in order to have a good product which is fail secure. Then I'm not so experienced on this, but I had been attending a lot of meetings in Bureau of Indian Standards. So I was made to understand that there is something called flight testing, which definitely we will need support from our industry colleagues, because ICAT has no experience of doing the flight testing. But we would like to make this flight testing also a part of the Indian standard, which is under making at the moment. Now, just to give you a brief, that there is a committee under Transport Engineering Division in Bureau of Indian Standards called TED14, which has a working group 4, which is mainly focusing on setting up the test standards for the drones. And ICAT has the convenership of that working group. And we are actually, I would say, halfway as far as the finalization of the standard is concerned. This working group is being attended by a lot of colleagues from government, test agencies, academia, industry, drone industry, and other stakeholders. And we expect that we should be able to roll out this standard in the next 3 months' time. And this standard can then be called as a national standard, because it is a BIS or IS standard. So we would like to work meticulously to finalize the standard, and we would like to invite more participants from industry, from the concerned other concerned members, to come forward and help us in setting up the standards. So we would request support from the people from the background of aviation and relevant industry to help us with finalizing the standard. Thank you so much, and I would hand it over to Dr. Pande now.
Uh, Thank you, Mr. Joshi. It was a very clear statement of activities that you are doing with respect to helping the industry in terms of validating their compliance. One thing which we are in talks and we would take it forward is to consider whether we can have ICAT as one of the certification bodies so that the manufacturers rather getting there as one of the processes for getting the type certificate, we would actually encourage them to come and get their approval as a certification body so that, it would be one-stop shop for all the activities for which I think so the manufacturers are at this point of time struggling. So this is something that we are working, and I think so we will get some headway on that and help the industry to get their compliances in place. Now that was the story of the current compliance and what we as QCI are doing to help the industry to get the validation in place. Now let me ask Sai his journey as of now in a very short this thing, but I have certain questions which you can always point towards us or towards the testing lab so that it will help the other manufacturers to understand that, what are the challenges, bottlenecks, and inertias in terms of moving the process forward. Sai.
Thank you, Dr. Pande. And thank you, Dr. Joshi, for the presentation. It was really clear and I liked it. And coming to our journey, my name is Sai. I'm from CrystalBall. We are a very young startup. I've been working with QCI and certification bodies for about 1.5 years on the certification. The journey has been very delightful with, of course, few challenges and the difficulties that everyone in the industry are facing. And we at CrystalBall want to solve problems, and we designed this drone and we applied for pilot certification. QCI has been very helpful in making us understand the scheme. We've spent almost close to 1.5 months just reading the first scheme which was released by QCI to understand each and everything. Applied our first set of documentations after very thorough readings. Few non-conformities were found and they were given to us. We've rectified, and this process has been going on. And overall, it's been a good journey, Dr. Pande.
Thank you, Sai. So I want you to now talk on specifics. So let us talk about the battery, where I myself know that you had changed 2 labs, and one of these labs had issues in terms of understanding what they have to do, and how as a manufacturer you could give them some kind of a guidance, and of course then we had to step in. That part of the story needs to be known to your other manufacturers.
Definitely, sir. I think battery is of national interest in drone industry. Some time back, almost every manufacturer that I spoke to was struggling with compliance on the battery testing just few months ago. And our journey with battery, we ourselves had to change the battery pack 3 times because the manufacturer was not able to comply, and we were not able to get the battery compliant. And we switched between multiple labs, and I'm sorry to say this, but we had some issues with labs in understanding of certification criteria and proposing the right solutions. As a manufacturers, we might be good designers, we might be designing very good products which are suitable for different conditions, but we are not experts when it comes to certification scheme. We are not experts when it comes to standardization and making sure every product is of quality and consistent. That's where the certification scheme comes in, helping us in giving us standards which standardization has to be applied and how to go about it. And the journey, especially on the battery, Dr. Pande, has been a very difficult one, and I'm very grateful that ICAT has given us a solution in making us understand the requirement and comply with that. I hope everyone are following the same path now and they are able to comply with the battery requirement. And one point I would have on the battery, Dr. Pande, is most of the manufacturers are using batteries from off the shelf, and it is the responsibility of the manufacturer actually to make sure he's selling a compliant product even before we buy us. And we as an industry, especially I would urge all my colleagues and fellow companies to get together as a group, and probably we can share the testing reports if we are using the same battery pack, and urge people whoever are being with to be compliant and share us the certificate so that we don't need to spend lakhs of rupees and go ahead and like getting into bad situations.
Thank you, Sai. So in the batteries, as we have been talking in various WhatsApp group that we are members, that actually battery compliance is something which the battery manufacturer has to establish, not the drone manufacturer. Now, but the issues are that since you have procured it and then there was a kind of gap between when the drone scheme had come as early as somewhere 2019,
Yes.
September. So, the manufacturers thought that, okay, we will get exemptions, and therefore they were just doing what they were doing. My sincere request and advice would be that I think so while you procure your components, you should demand the compliances as far as NABL accreditation goes, as far as BIS requirement goes, because that is something that the manufacturer of the battery has to give you, rather than you getting it and then running around and starting to lose money and time to get your type certificate. It is akin that you are selling your drone to a service provider and then you are telling him to go and get this type certificate. So it doesn't function like this. The main point here is that when you are procuring your components, see that you get the compliance certificates and NABL certificates from that manufacturer. That will reduce the turnaround time by at least 40%. So take this as a takeaway, and if you could instill that kind of a discipline in your procurements, I think so life will be much easier. Now the second point which I want to tell is, 26th of January was the scheme notified, and it is a pleasure to announce that there are about 75 odd D1 forms that hit the Digital Sky platform, which is the official platform where a manufacturer has to submit. But because of certain issues in terms of understanding the degree of compliances that are given to the certification body to check and approve them for moving the case forward to DGCA, we see that there are a lot of misses. There have been a lot of rejections, if I have to say. Let me ask Sai that what is the best way to handle this D1 forms when you submit it to the DSP?
So yes, a lot of manufacturers has been facing this issue, and I was going through the D1 form submitted to the labs, and we see a lot of forms are rejected. My point of view, the main reason, one of the reasons the D1 forms are rejected is the documentation is not appropriate. Because when we apply to the certifying body, documentation is the first thing that the certifying body is going to verify. We need to make sure that the documentation is consistent and is appropriate so that the D1 form goes through for the next stages of evaluation.
Right. Thank you, Sai. So I have been told to wrap it up in another 2 minutes. So last piece of advice that you would want to give to the manufacturers?
I would say only 3 points. Number one, understanding of the scheme. To all the manufacturers, make sure you understand each and every requirement of each and every clause and what are the standards and how to go about it. Number two is identification of where the testing needs to be done once you understood the scheme, for which I think ICAT is one of the solutions, and there are other laboratories also which you have to figure out and make sure that you're getting your testing done. And number three, when you start the test, make sure you're sure that you're meeting the compliance criteria and not testing of some other criteria or some other standard that was not mentioned in the scheme. These are the 3 things if a manufacturer keeps in mind. I would think 60 days is good enough to get the type certificates for any manufacturer.
Thank you, Sai. Mr. Joshi, anything that you would want to address the manufacturers in terms of your processes? Would you have collection centers pan-India, or is it only Manesar or Gurgaon that they have to come and give things to you? So something if...
No, as far as the test location is concerned, Dr. Pande, we have only one facility at the moment, which is in Manesar. As you know, it is a highly expensive facility. 1,600 crore rupees have been spent to set up this facility. So it is not possible to make centers like this at multiple places. But of course, we can help people with logistics if required. But only 2 things to summarize before I close. That standardization is the foundation for every new business to take shape and become competitive. For 2 reasons. One, this is going to be a tender-based business in various states. If we don't put up standards, then each and every tender document will have different technical specifications which the manufacturers will have to comply to. that is actually a complete financial loss, that if for every new tender you have to undergo a new type approval, and that costs a lot of time as well as money. Once you have a national standard in place, then you have to go get a single compliance and you can go anywhere. And then the possibilities of multiple technical specifications also go out. Second thing, when we are talking about making India as the manufacturing hub for drones by 2030, it will definitely be possible for us to export a lot of drones outside, right? So it is also important then to set up the standards at par with the international level so that our products right from beginning are competitive and you are able to export these products outside India as we are trying to bring it into India at the moment. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Before I wind up, I would like to introduce the Quality Council team, which would be here today, tomorrow, which is headed by my colleague, Joint Director, Mr. C. Sharma. If you can please rise. We have Mr. Marshall, we have Siddharth, and we have Guru. So these are the ones who are here. They are a mix of, understanding the technicalities and, of course, helping you with certain solutions in terms of which labs are there and where you could go. And I think so that will help you all because you are here and physically present. Otherwise, there are calls and WhatsApp. Sometimes miscommunication happens. It is better that you can meet them in person and help you out. With this, I thank you all, the Ministry, Madam, the DFI, and others to give us a chance to talk about the type certificate and the enablers to that. Thank you.
थैंक यू
Thank you.
हम सभी गणमान्य जो हमारे स्पीकर्स हैं उन्हें मेमेंटो देना चाहेंगे. मेरा निवेदन है कि होस्ट से कि कृपया उन्हें मेमेंटो प्रदान करें. डॉक्टर मनीष पांडे, डॉक्टर मधुसूदन जोशी एंड श्री बी साईराज. Thank you so much, all the guest speakers.